What's up, everybody? FTWitachi here. You know what it is. Thank you very much for tuning in to our pre-patch for Shadowlands Demonology guide, where we will be covering every single aspect of the spec. We will be covering both talents for PvE and PvP. We will be covering over the stat priorities. We'll be covering over personal buffs such as gems, enchants, and consumables. We'll be covering the rotation, as well as additional add-ons such as expansion specifics. And currently, we still have essences and azurite traits still in play. So anything specific that I can give you guys details on, we will be going over within this guide. Now, as a little bit of an intro, Demonology is a DPS spec with the primary stat of Intellect. It's a commander of demons who twists the soul of his army into devastating power. Preferred weapons would be staffs, wands, daggers, and swords. Main abilities of Shadow Bolt, Hand of Gul'dan, Summon Felguard, Call Dreadstalkers, Implosion, as well as Summon Demonic Tyrant. I've been a Demonology main Warlock player for many years. I've been through the ups, I've been through the downs. And going into Shadowlands at this moment in time, the spec is decent for pre-patch. It is still decent. But getting into the specifics of Shadowlands, stay tuned for that, because we will have an updated guide when Shadowlands does get hit, and when we do reach max level of 60 during Shadowlands. But at this moment in time, Demonology is most likely going to be the least played of the three specs, because damage-wise, it is not going to be the best. But at the moment in time, I strongly suggest you play a spec that you want to play during pre-patch of Shadowlands, because they're all very versatile in both PvE and PvP aspects of the game. So without further ado, let's get into Demonology. Moving on into stat priorities for a Demonology Warlock. We've got Intellect as our main stat, so pretty much you're going to be getting that on every single piece of gear, so do not worry about that. But when it comes to secondary stats, I currently prefer Mastery over Haste. Haste is kind of equal to Crit, but then again, if I am to give it a choice, I will take Haste over Crit. And Versatility would definitely be at the end of that tier set for secondary stats. So again, starting off with your main stat, which would be Intellect, of course. When it comes to secondary stats, I do have Mastery over Haste equals to Crit, but I would take Haste over Crit. And last but not least, I wouldn't really worry too much about it, but you got Versatility at the very bottom. Alright, getting into the personal buffs, which include gems, enchants, and consumables for a Demonology Warlock. When it comes to the gems, you're going to want to go ahead and at least have one, because it is unique, so you can only have one socketed, which is the Leviathan Eye of Intellect, which is an Intellect gem. And currently, the best gem that is offered for you in Mastery is the Masterful Sea Current. You're going to want to go ahead and enchant your Rings of Enchant Mastery. You're going to want to go ahead and use the Weapon Enchant of Machinist Brilliance. For the Flask, you're going to want to go with Endless Fathoms. For Potion, you're going to want to go with Potion of Intellect. For the food, you want to go with the Mastery Food, which is Abyssal Fried with Soul, unless you have a raid group or a guild that is providing you with Feast. And of course, for the runes, if you have access to them, the Battle Scarred Augment Rune, or from the Reputation Lightning Forged Augment Rune. Alright, we're going to be getting into the miscellaneous section, which is going to be covering expansion specifics for a Demonology Warlock. Again, this is pre-patched to Shadowlands, but we still have access to Battle for Azeroth's Azurite traits, as well as essences. We're mainly going to be focusing on essences, because there's not too much you can do gear-wise with Azurite traits going into Shadowlands, and again, both of these are going to be removed anyways in Shadowlands, but essences are a little bit more easier to go ahead and shift around. So let's go ahead and start off with the major essence of Vision of Perfection. The Vision of Perfection is the major essence that all Demonology Warlocks must have in any given situation. After that, I strongly suggest these three essences: Breath of the Dying, Memory of Lucid Dreams, as well as the Formless Void. When it comes to AoE situations, when you have 2 or more targets, I strongly suggest you go ahead and drop in the Purification Protocol instead of the Vision of Perfection, and you go ahead and remove the Formless Void as a minor slot and add in the Vision of Perfection as a minor essence. So not too much to change when it comes to AoE situations, but again, Vision of Perfection as a major, Breath of Dying, Memory of Lucid Dreams, and the Formless Void as a minor. But again, in an AoE situation of 2 or more targets, drop in Purification Protocol as your major, and swap out Vision of Perfection with Formless Void as your minor. Now on to talents. We're going to be covering both PvE and PvP talents. Starting off at tier 1, which is at level 15, going in from left to right. We've got Dreadlash. Passive ability. When your Dreadstalkers charge into battle, their Dreadbite attack now hits all targets within 8 yards and deals 25% more damage. Number 2, Bioscourge Bombers, 2 Soul Shards, 40-yard range, instant ability at 30-second cooldown. You get to tear open a portal to the Nether above the targeted location, from which several Bioscourge will pour out of and crash into the ground over 6 seconds, dealing 268 shadow damage each to all enemies within 8 yards. Demonic Strength, instant ability, 1 minute cooldown. Infuse your Felguard with Demonic Strength and command it to charge your target and unleash a Fellstorm that will deal 400% increased damage. Right away from this first tier, I'm going to be removing Dreadlash. It is nowhere comparable to the other 2 talents in this row. I much rather prefer Bioscourge Bombers. It does slightly do a little bit more damage than Demonic Strength, but it is your choice based off of playstyle. It is much easier to go ahead and utilize and macro in Demonic Strength, but Bioscourge Bombers, it does do that extra damage that I do prefer. Tier 2 at level 25, you got from left to right Demonic Calling, which is a passive ability. Shadow Bolt and Demon Bolt have a 20% chance to make your next call Dreadstalkers cost 2 fewer Soul Shards and have no cast time. Number 2, Power Siphon, instant ability, 30-second cooldown. Instantly sacrifice up to 2 wild imps, generating 2 charges of Demonic Core that cause Demon Bolt to deal 30% additional damage. Doom, 100 mana, instant cast, 40-yard range, inflicts impending doom upon the target, causing 1383 shadow damage after 16 seconds. Doom damage generates also 1 Soul Shard. I'm going to be getting rid of 1 talent from this row as well, which is Doom, leaving us with Power Siphon and Demonic Calling. Based off of my later talent choices, which I will be explaining once I get to them, I have decided to go with Power Siphon because this is, in my opinion, the best talent of this row, mixed in and combined with a later talent. Demonic Calling is individually better than Power Siphon, but if you copy and paste my exact talent tree, you will hopefully pick Power Siphon, and I will explain a little bit later towards the second to last talent row why I have picked Power Siphon. Tier 3 at level 30. This is kind of more playstyle based. I have my own preference, which is Demon Skin, which is a passive ability. Your Soul Leech Absorption now passively recharges at a rate of 0.5% of maximum health every 1 second, and may now absorb up to 15% of maximum health. You also have Burning Rush, which is an instant ability, increases your movement speed by 50%, but also damages you for 4% of your maximum health every 1 second. Movement impairing effects may not reduce you below 100% of normal movement speed, lasts until cancelled. And last but not least, you have Dark Pact. Instant ability, 1 minute cooldown. Sacrifices 20% of your current health to shield you for 250% of the sacrificed health, plus an additional 289 for 20 seconds. Usable while suffering from control impairing effects. I much prefer Demon Skin because it is a passive ability. It's 1 less ability you have to worry about. I much rather prefer Demon Skin over Dark Pact. Now, Burning Rush does come in handy, especially in PvE scenarios such as Mythic Dungeons, where you need to go ahead and get that extra speed boost. Of course, in a PvE raiding scenario, where you do need that extra speed boost to get from one section of the room to the other. So Burning Rush does have its niche as well. So from this tier row, which is at level 30, tier 3, I strongly suggest you go ahead and pick Demon Skin over Dark Pact, but if you do need the extra speed boost, go with Burning Rush. Tier 4 at level 35. From left to right, you got From the Shadows. Passive ability, Dreadbite causes the target to take 20% additional Shadow Flame damage from you for the next 12 seconds. In the middle, you got Soul Strike, 50-yard range, instant ability, and 10-second cooldown. Command your Felguard to strike into the soul of its enemy, dealing 670 shadow damage. It also generates 1 Soul Shard. And last but not least, Summon Vile Fiend. 1 Soul Shard, 40-yard range, 1.7 second cast time, and a 45-second cooldown. Summon a Vile Fiend to fight for you for the next 15 seconds. Right away from this tier row, which is tier 4, level 35, I'm getting rid of From the Shadows. It does not compare at all to Soul Strike as well as Summon Vile Fiend. Again, depending on playstyle, just like the first row, you can choose either or. However, Summon Vile Fiend does do more damage than Soul Strike, give and take certain situations. And most situations, again, I would be picking Summon Vile Fiend. At the level 40 tier, which is mainly your CC abilities, your crowd controls. Starting off from the left, Dark Fury passive reduces the cooldown of Shadow Fury by 15 seconds and increases its radius by 2 yards. You also have Mortal Coil in the middle, 200 mana, 20 yard range, instant ability at 45-second cooldown. Horrifies an enemy target into fleeing, incapacitating for 3 seconds, and healing you for 20% of maximum health. Last but not least, Howl of Terror, instant ability, 40-second cooldown. Let loose a terrifying howl, causing 5 enemies within 10 yards to flee in fear, disorienting them for 20 seconds. Damage may cancel the effect. So, just like the third tier, which was at level 30, with Demon Skin, Burning Rush, and Dark Pact, this is also a tier row at tier 5 at level 40, where you're going to want to pick a specific talent, not for DPS purposes, because this is crowd control abilities, but for situational abilities. For example, Dark Fury. You are in a dungeon that requires a massive amount of AoE, area on effect, crowd control. You want that increase of radius as well as the cooldown reduction on Shadow Fury. Dark Fury is definitely the way to go. You're in a boss fight in a raid, and you need to go ahead and make sure you have a reduced cooldown on Shadow Fury and get more CCs and crowd control on packs or on mobs that are on a boss fight. Dark Fury is definitely the way to go. Howl of Terror is mainly in for situations such as epic battlegrounds or major battlegrounds where you're going to be fighting off multiple people, multiple players. And of course, I prefer Mortal Coil over both of them because of just the 20% maximum health, and I do mostly do 1v1, 2v2 arena content. When it does come to arenas, definitely go with Mortal Coil. You can go ahead and pick out Howl of Terror, but 2v2s, 3v3s, sometimes I've just always seen Mortal Coil being a preference of mine, mainly because in 2v2s I go double DPS, so more cooldowns defensively for me is a huge plus. And again, that's just my situational abilities and my situational awareness on those 3 talents on that tier. The second to last tier at 45, you got Soul Conduit from the left. Passive ability, every soul shard you spend has a 15% chance to be refunded. Inner Demons, passive ability, passively summon a wild imp to fight for you for every 12 seconds, and have a 10% chance to also summon an additional demon to fight for you for 15 seconds. And last but not least, on the right, Grimoire Felguard. 1 soul shard, 40 yard range, 2 minute cooldown, as well as it's an instant cast. Summons a Felguard who attacks the target for 17 seconds that deals 25% increased damage. This Felguard will also stun the target when summoned ASAP. This is the talent row where I was talking about why I chose Power Siphon. I have gone with Inner Demons. I much prefer Inner Demons and Power Siphon as a combination compared to all other talent trees and talent choices. So if you do choose Inner Demons, definitely go with Power Siphon, and if you choose Power Siphon, definitely go with Inner Demons. On this tier set, I will remove Soul Conduit. It is definitely not comparable to Inner Demons and Grimoire Felguard. But again, Grimoire Felguard is also another viable option that you can do if you did not select Power Siphon from the second tier, and instead you pick Demonic Calling. And again, if same thing, in this tier, if you're choosing Grimoire Felguard, you would not go with Power Siphon in tier 2. And if you're choosing Inner Demons on this set, you're definitely going to be going with Power Siphon on tier 2. And last but not least, the last tier, starting from the left, Sacrifice Soul's passive ability. Shadow Bolt and Demon Bolt deal 4% additional damage per demon you have summoned. Demonic Consumption, passive. Your demon commander now drains 15% of life from your demon servants to empower them. And of course, you've got Nether Portal, 1 soul shard, 40 yard range, 2.1 second cast, 3 minute cooldown to open a portal to the Twisting Nether for 15 seconds. Every time you spend soul shards, you will also command demons from the Nether to come out and fight for you. I have gone with Nether Portal from this section. Again, I am very keen on the demonic summons for my talent choices, and they are very RNG based, especially with the Nether Portal, and which demons do come out of the Nether Portal, but you can pull the numbers, and you can even pull higher numbers with this tier setup. Demonic Consumption is the better talent if you do not choose Nether Portal, and when it comes to Sacrifice Souls, I would not even bother with it. So you have 2 options and 2 routes to go when it comes to Demonology talents. So let's go ahead and cover my options. I'm currently going with Battle Scourge Bombers, Power Siphon, Demon Skin, Summon Vile Fiend, Mortal Coil, Inner Demons, as well as Nether Portal. I have found this setup to give you the most DPS, not on a consistent basis, I will tell you that much. It can pull way far ahead of the other talent tree that I'm about to choose, or can just slightly fall just below it. But I'd rather take that opportunity and that chance, and it's just a fun setup for me to play. When it comes to Demon Skin, which was the 3rd tier, and Mortal Coil, which is the 5th tier, go ahead and choose the talents based off of different situations, as I've stated earlier. The other talent tree that you can go ahead and use at the 1st tier, you're going to want to go with Demonic Strength. The 2nd one, you're going to want to go with Demonic Calling. The 3rd one, again, situational. The 4th one, you're going to want to go with Summon Vile Fiend or Soul Strike. The 5th one, you're going to want to go with a situational talent there as well. The 6th one, you're going to want to go with Grimoire Felguard. And the 7th, last but not least, Demonic Consumption. So again, there's 2 different talent choices that you can pick with Demonology. This one, that tree is a little bit more stable when it comes to the DPS, and it does pull the best numbers at a more stable rate. But the talent tree or the talent setup that I have gone with can pull, has the opportunity to pull more numbers than the other one. Next up, we're going to be going over all of the PvP talents. I'm just going to go ahead and go through the whole list really quickly, and I will be telling you guys yes or no on them, whether they're decent or good to have for a Demonology Warlock. Starting off with Singe Magic, 40-yard range, instant 15-second cooldown. Command your summoned imp to remove all harmful magical effects from your targets, but deals 3% of their total health and fire damage. Your imp must be your current active pet to use Singe Magic. Absolutely a disgusting freaking talent for a Demonology Warlock. I wouldn't even recommend it at all. Call Fel Hunter, 100 mana, 40-yard range, 24-second cooldown, instant cast. Invoke the power of the Fel Hunter from the Nether to instantly spell lock the enemy target. Call Fel Hunter cannot be used if your current pet is the Fel Hunter, so this is nicer than the imp version because you do not need the Fel Hunter out. Spell lock counters the enemy's spell cast, preventing the spell from that school of magic from being cast for 6 seconds. So it is definitely useful, but it is not one of my choices of talents for PvP. Pleasure through pain, passive. While your succubus is active, your shadow damage is decreased by 15%, and cast time of your shadow bolt is reduced by 0.5%. Again, very useful, but not a talent of my choice. Next up, you got Call Fellord, 2 soul shards, 40-yard range, 1.5 minute cooldown, instant. Summon a Fellord to guard the location for 15 seconds. Any enemy that comes within 6 yards will suffer up to 5% of the maximum health and damage, and the player's struck will also be stunned for 1 second. Absolutely bangers, especially when you're in Alterac Valley or any other epic battleground. Call Fellord is one of my favorite PvP talents to choose. I even love it in arenas because of the fact that, let's say you're having an issue with a healer, or even if it's a 1v1 DPS situation and they're trying to LOS you around pillars. Fellord one way, you the other way, you've got him pretty much blocked, and you're going to be able to get that crowd control for your benefit. So Call Fellord comes into play in so many situations, and I absolutely freaking love it. Next up, you got Master Summoner, passive ability. Your Call Dreadstalkers is now instant cast. One of the best PvP talents out there, but it's not one of the ones that I use, but I do highly recommend it. Bane of Fragility, 125 mana, 40-yard range, 45-second cooldown, instant cast, reduces the target's maximum health up by up to 50% for 10 seconds. Not really a great talent. Unless, I mean, there's really minor situations for this. Again, I'm not going to get into it. It's just not really great. Gateway Mastery, passive. I wish we had a 4th talent option for PvP because I would choose this one. It's just slightly out of my range. Increases the range of your demonic gateway by 20 yards. And reduces the cast time by 30%. Reduces the time between how often players can take your demonic gateway by 15 seconds. Absolutely great for battlegrounds. Arenas not so much. You shouldn't really need it. But battlegrounds is absolutely bangers. Absolutely love it. I just wish we had a 4th freaking talent that we could choose for PvP. Netherwood, 100 mana, instant 45-second cooldown. Another good talent. Surrounds the caster with a shield that lasts 3 seconds, reflecting all harmful spells casted on you. Another great talent, but just not one of the ones that I picked. Essence Drain, passive. Whenever you heal yourself with Drain Life, the enemy target deals 5% reduced damage to you for 6 seconds, stacks up to 5 times. Another good talent, but again, it's just not another one that I would be using. Casting Circle, 200 mana, 0.42 second cast, 1 minute cooldown. Summons a Casting Circle for 8 seconds while you're within the Casting Circle. You are immune to silence and interrupt effects. Summoning Casting Circle causes enemy resolve to no longer grant immunity to silence and interrupt effects. Absolutely one of the shittiest freaking talents in this. Almost as bad as Singe Magic. It's just dumb. It's just really dumb. Why would you need it? Does what Unending Resolve does. Why would you want it? Why? Just why? Why? It actually might be worse than Cinch Magic. No, but it is. It's bad. I love it though. It's a cool little summoning circle. Who doesn't want to cast a summoning circle? But it's really bad. Call Observer, 100 mana, instant, 1.5 minute cooldown. Summons a demonic observer to keep a watchful eye over the area for 20 seconds. Anytime an enemy within 20 yards casts a harmful magic spell, the observer will deal up to 5% of the target's maximum health and shatter damage. I absolutely love this. It's great for DPS in any given PvP situation. And I absolutely love it, especially in 1v1 situations. It gets a little bit hectic for someone to face off against a Demonology Warlock, especially when you have every single freaking demon in existence summoned. People even have hard times, unless they have a macro or anything set up for tab targets, they have a hard time tab targeting you. So it is what it is. I absolutely love this one. Amplify Curse. One of the best talents that you can actually choose now that we have curses. Amplify Curse, 45-second cooldown, instant. Your next Curse of Exhaustion. Curse of Tongues or Curse of Weakness is now amplified. It is really good talent. Curse of Exhaustion reduces the target's movement speed by an additional 20%. Curse of Tongues increases casting time by an additional 30%. And Curse of Weakness, enemy is unable to critically strike. Absolutely a must-have PvP talent, not gonna lie. But if you're wondering what I've chose, I've been rocking with Call Fellord, Call Observer, and Amplify Curse ever since. So those are my favorite three to go ahead and choose from. But as stated, there's a couple of other good options out there if you do, and if they do fit your playstyle. As a Demonology Warlock, you're going to go ahead and want to make sure that you have your Doom Lord summoned, if you have the capabilities to do so, and you fulfill the requirements to go ahead and summon it. If not, go ahead and utilize your standard pet, which is the Felguard or Wrathguard, depending on which one you have, whether it's glyphed or not. When it comes to the single target rotation for Demonology Warlock, you're going to want to go ahead and start off by casting Summon Vile Fiend whenever available, but ensure that every second cast will occur right before you go ahead and use Summon Demonic Tyrant. And I'll go ahead and get into that in just a little bit when it comes to cooldowns. So you're going to want to start off by summoning Vile Fiend whenever possible when it's off cooldown. You're going to want to cast Call Dreadstalkers whenever available. You're going to want to cast Hand of Gul'dan if you have at least 4 to 5 soul shards. A minimum of 3, but at least 4 to 5 is recommended. Cast Demon Bolt if you have 2+ stacks of Demonic Core. Cast Power Siphon to generate more Demonic Core. Cast Hand of Gul'dan with 3 soul shards, as well as casting Shadow Bolt to generate soul shards, which is going to be your filler. So a little bit of a recap on that. Use Summon Vile Fiend on cooldown. Use Call Dreadstalkers on cooldown. Use Hand of Gul'dan when you have 4 to 5 soul shards. Use Demon Bolt whenever you have stacks of Demonic Core to go ahead and generate soul shards. Go ahead and utilize Power Siphon if you need stacks of Demonic Core to generate soul shards. And of course use Hand of Gul'dan when you have at least 3 soul shards. At least, but again, 4 to 5 is definitely recommended. And last but not least, your filler will be Shadow Bolt. Also make sure with your single target rotation, you're utilizing your pet's abilities as well. Mainly his 360 for the win is Fellstorm, so make sure you are using that within on cooldown as well. When it comes to a major cooldown, which is also within your single target priority, which is Summon Demonic Tyrant, it should not be used thoughtlessly. This is your major cooldown. This is something that you really have to be very attentive to your demons that you have out and everything that you've been rolling with your rotation. Setting up for Demonic Tyrant is a very important part of playing this spec properly. Here is the list of tips that I currently have for when you are using Summon Demonic Tyrant as your major cooldown. Besides the single target priority rotation that I've already explained, just make sure you ensure Summon Demonic Tyrant will occur while your Dreadstalkers are active, because the Dreadstalkers are kind of like the key. Besides the Imps, the Dreadstalkers are kind of like the key play to utilizing your damage when you do Summon Demonic Tyrant. Ensure that Summon Demonic Tyrant will occur while your Vile Fiend is active. So that's why I said earlier, whenever it usually occurs, you can summon 2 Vile Fiends by the time you get 1 Demonic Tyrant. So that second Vile Fiend, or the first, depending on how you're doing it in your rotation, just make sure you always have a Vile Fiend summoned right before you go ahead and use Demonic Tyrant. And last but not least, if you are using Nether Portal, which I am, it should be casted about 12 seconds before you intend to use Summon Demonic Tyrant, and that's to go ahead and rack up as many demons as you can from the Nether Portal itself. When it comes to AoE situations, aka multiple targets for a Demonology Warlock, the rotation is very, very similar to single target. However, you're going to be using a couple of other abilities, such as Battle Scourge Bombers, as well as Implosion a little bit more often. So you're going to want to go ahead and start off by getting all of your demons out. Call Dreadstalkers whenever available. You're going to want to use Battle Scourge Bombers whenever available, which is an AoE ability. You're going to want to go ahead and summon Vile Fiend as well on whenever available on cooldown. You're going to want to go ahead and use Hand of Gul'dan as much as you possibly can. Again, recommendation of 4 to 5 soul shards, however, at least have a minimum of 3. And you're going to want to go ahead and use Implosion to detonate Wild Imps on +2 targets. You're going to want to go ahead and use Demon Bolt if you have 3+ stacks of Demonic Core. And you're going to want to use your Power Siphon to generate Demonic Core as well to go ahead and utilize Demon Bolt. And of course, if you have really nothing else to do, Shadow Bolt is to generate soul shards in order to get Hand of Gul'dan out there, which is going to give you more imps. And when you have enough imps, you're going to want to go ahead and use Implosion on the pack of mobs. Also, make sure you are using your pet's abilities, same thing as single target. Go ahead and use Fellstorm whenever you can on cooldown on the pack of the mobs. And of course, you can go ahead and utilize your Summon Demonic Tyrant whenever you feel fit, if you need to as well. Thank you all very much for tuning in to our Demonology pre-patch for Shadowlands Warlock guide. Stay tuned again for our Shadowlands guide. It is going to be a lot more in-depth than this one. This is just basically scraping off the surface for a Demonology Warlock with this brand new patch for the pre-patch for Shadowlands. Again, we're going to be getting into a lot of the Shadowlands specific content, such as Covenants and stuff, when we get to our Shadowlands guide. Stay tuned about a week or so once Shadowlands dropped, once we've reached max level, once we're able to do a little bit more testing, and once things are a little bit more full. But for right now, there's tons of changes still happening every single day on beta and on live servers. So this is basically again, very, very basic guide for Demonology Warlock. I didn't want to go into deep details on everything. The main reason is because things are changing every single second, and this is a pre-patch for Shadowlands, and they're still doing testing. So again, stay tuned for our Shadowlands guide. Catch you guys then. Peace out, and come tune into our streams.